The next assets we are going to be looking at on our watch list is the GBP USD, and in fact we've been doing pretty well since the beginning of the week, though the week started with a very choppy scenario as we saw price action was range bound for most of the first half of the week before we begin to see some bullish traction, some traction in favor of the buyers. Now let's run through how the week started so that we can have a background knowledge of what is really going on here. Now, at the beginning of the week, we affirmed that there was some indecision in the market as we saw price confined between our key level for the week at the 1.260 and of course the 1.25790, giving us an insight into the level of indecision at that point in time. And in fact, the appearance of this engulfing bearish candle made us to consider selling the GBP USD at the beginning of the. Remember, we saw this bearish engulfing candle, which gave us a sign that we might likely be seeing some selling opportunities. So the breakdown of the 1.25790 triggered a sell position for us at the beginning of the week, but unfortunately, we were taken out of that position in a loss before this bullish momentum began, breaking out of our key level at the 1.260 level, and since that moment we have been buying this asset. And remember, we went on to maximize the potential of this bullish move by adding more positions to our existing trade. We had levels like the 1.263, we had levels like the 1.265, and of course the 1.267 as we milked that bullish momentum all the way to the upside. And in fact, let's see how many pips that one moved before the sellers came into this market. Let's see. We had this. Okay, the first position here moved about 140 pips, as you will see, while the second position here moved about 110. That's about 250 pips thereabout, and we saw this one move about 9,500 pips, giving about 300 pips, and we had this one move about 70. So we had about over 300 pips on the GBP USD during the first half of the week, which wasn't bad at all to start the week with. Then on Tuesday and on Thursday, that was yesterday, we anticipated the breakdown of the structure. I think the breakdown had already happened yesterday before the live session, and I told us that for those who had missed out on that opportunity, that we shall hold on to see if the market will come back to retest to inside that move to the downside, which of course never happened. Now, for those who had sell position here yesterday, I do hope that you moved your stop losses, and if you had done that, you must be taken out of that trade right now. Now, heading into the New York session today, what is going to be our plans on the GBP USD? Especially after considering the strong momentum that began this week, the bullish momentum, is it going to be the end of the bearish momentum? Which of course I told us all yesterday, I am seeing this bearish momentum as a retracement of this impulsive move. So are we at the end of this retracement phase to incite an uptrend continuation? Or are there chances that this trend line will be broken to the downside to incite a bearish momentum? Now, let's look at this in detail. Now, before I do, I would like to delete some of these structures here which are no longer relevant so that we can have a clean chart to work with. All right, so we have the situation right here. Now, if you look at what has been going on since the midweek, you will see that price action had consistently found lower highs, which is a sign that sellers are gradually gaining momentum. And of course, I saw this, I made mention that this bearish momentum may likely be the retracement of that impulsive bullish move that started this week. And what we are going to be looking out for as technical traders here is to wait and see how far this retracement phase will go before the second leg of the bullish momentum will begin. Now, if you look at the way things are going, despite the lower highs on this chart that resulted in this bearish trend line, you will see that price action is yet to find a lower low to confirm the strength of the sellers in this market. As you will see here that since the New York session yesterday, we have noticed that sellers are continue to struggle around the 1.2660 and the 1.265 area. You will see that at every point in time price comes into that level, we saw how buyers jumped in to negate all sellers' attempts. And this has been very consistent in the last 24 hours to give us clues that we might likely be seeing the breakout of that descending trend line to inside an uptrend continuation. Now, if we take a step further to look at what the transition of price action is gradually evolving into, you will see that following this impulsive move to the downside, we had a sharp rejection of the 1.265. Price came back into this level. We saw the inability of price action to break down and close below the previous low as a sign that we might likely be seeing a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. And you know how we do it. Whenever we identify such patterns on the chart, the next thing we want to be doing is to identify the neckline, which shall be serving as a yardstick to validate the potency of that reversal pattern. And of course, we have something within the 1.267 and the 1.26750 area to guide the momentum upward. Now we already have a breakout of the 1.267, as you will see a very strong engulfing bullish candle springing out of that structure, and price action appear to come back to retest the structure, and we have been noticing some buy pressure around this area. So it makes quite a lot of sense that we look out for buying opportunities here, and if price action goes on to break out of that descending trend line, then this will be a good signal that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate that bullish attempt, giving us another suitable opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. And in fact, I have the 1.26880 to help us capitalize on more buying opportunities in this market. So if price breaks out of that level, we had more positions, and mind you, we still have more levels to maximize the potential of this uptrend continuation. So we have the 1.27120, and of course we have the 1.27450 level to capitalize on the uptrend continuation. So let's be on standby anywhere above the 1.267 and the 1.26880 to capitalize on an uptrend continuation. However, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunity around this area, we still cannot ignore the potentials of sellers. Anything could happen in this market, and for the fact that price action still remains below the descending trend line, let's see what could happen on this chart that will make us negate the idea of buying and get ready to sell the GBP USD. Now, one of the criteria we are going to be using here today is that ascending trend line we spotted during the midweek. Now, remember, since last week Friday, you will notice how price has consistently found higher lows in this market, hereby giving us an ascending trend line to work with. Now, as long as price remains above the ascending trend line, you know we continue to look out for buying opportunity. But if at any point in time today price action breaches this ascending trend line, then we might likely be seeing a momentum shift begin. Now, to sell the GBP USD today, I want to see price break down that ascending trend line. Remember, we are not getting too excited here, as we will need some confirmations to happen before we jump into a sell position. Remember, we are within a very strong bullish momentum, and it makes quite a lot of sense that we wait for confirmations to happen, as the breakdown here could turn out to be a false breakout, and we don't want to get ourselves caught up in that kind of mess. So what we are going to be looking at here is breakdown of structure. First of all, scale down to your lower time frame. It could be the 5, the 10, or 15 minutes time frame to look out for signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the ascending trend line. And of course, this will reflect on the chart as price retesting both the ascending trend line and the bearish trend line here to inside selling pressure to push price to the downside. And if that happens, we have multiple levels here that will guide more trading opportunities if price continue to nosedive to the downside. So we have the 1.263, the 1.265, And of course, the 1.2600 level, our key level here, as yardstick to guide more selling opportunities if price action does break down these levels. So this is how we are going to be managing our position today on the GBPUSD. And of course, from what I have said so far, you would agree with me how important this ascending trend line is going to be for us today. So as long as price remains above the ascending trend line, we continue to look out for buying opportunities, at the same time feel comfortable in our buy position. And we are not selling unless this trend line is broken to the downside. So let's mark these levels out on our chart, as we shall be needing them as a reference point to guide our trading activities for today. So if you have any questions whatsoever as regards the current setup, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And of course, you do want to be marking out those levels on your chart right now, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions.